Welcome to Fan for Racing Radio. I'm Fan for Racing Sharon, and joining me is Jay Huseman, and we are here to do the Charlotte review for the NASCAR Cup Series. Overall thoughts about that race, Jay?
It was one of the better, again, Coca-Cola or Coke 600 now, just the Coke 600, but longest race of the year, still one of the crown jewels. Maybe somebody a little unexpected winning the crown, so you got to love that from the back to the front. I don't care who the driver is. That's a good story. That's a good race story.
Amazing. He started 40th because he lost his car in practice or qualifying. I forgot which one it was now. And started 40th in a backup car. Raced from the last place to the first place throughout that race and just ran an amazing run for Ross Chastain. So
and I want to give a big shout out to the crew. They talked about that. I know Ross Chastain did, of crew in the garage until like 2:30 in the morning. We're back at like 7:30. Crew chief, said that I think he got 2.5 maybe hours of sleep, 2.5, 3 hours of sleep. So that just tells you, I mean, what a team sport it is. And to be able to put, think about this, it was during practice that happened, and they had the fastest car over several of the categories. And how you do that, I'm sure everybody wants to know, but you take the speed from a damaged car, take the speed out of it, however it is, where you find it, whatever it is. But to put that into a backup car, they said this was going to be their car for Nashville coming up. So that's, man, kudos to that team. Holy cow.
Yeah, and it's not good news for the competition going into Nashville. That's for sure. It really was an amazing run when you consider what he did in what is considered a crown jewel of NASCAR and the longest race of the entire season that basically comes down to endurance in this race. So he really was amazing.
And not just that, but then have to not just have the car you have, but there were some other drivers that had some good cars too, and he had to get around and buy them.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It was a late charge that propelled Ross Chastain to victory in the Coca-Cola 600. So you might want to say, welcome to the party. No matter how late he came, Ross Chastain was there. And to the NASCAR playoffs as well, because that gave him entry into the playoffs for this season as well. So starting from the rear of the field in a backup car, his team needed all night to prepare. Chastain ran down the dominant car to William Byron to win Sunday night's Coca-Cola 600 at Charlotte Motor Speedway. It was the 66th running of the Coca-Cola 600 at Charlotte Motor Speedway, and the win was his first of the year, the first at Charlotte and the 6th of his career. William Byron finished in second place, followed by the pole sitter, Chase Briscoe, in third. Then it was A.J. Allmendinger, Brad Keselowski with a good finish, Chase Elliott, Michael McDowell, Christopher Bell, Ryan Preece, and Noah Gragson rounds out the top 10 finishers. Byron dominated most of the race, leading 283 laps and winning the first 3 stages. There's always 4 stages for the Coke 600. However, he could not hold off Chastain at the end. Chastain, who started the race from the rear due to that backup car, took the lead with 5 laps to go and pulled out to a 0.673 thousandths of a second margin of victory. The fastest lap bonus went to Denny Hamlin, and there were 34 lead changes among 11 drivers, 8 cautions for 52 yellow flag laps. The average speed of the race, 135.781 miles per hour. And the highest finishing rookie was Shane Van Gisbergen, who finished in 14th place. So that was really a good finish for Shane Van Gisbergen. That fastest lap bonus going to Denny Hamlin was on lap 210 at 29.367 seconds. So a really good fastest lap bonus for Denny Hamlin. So if you look at it, all three of those guys, William Byron, Ross Chastain, and Denny Hamlin all had shining moments in this race.
Yeah, you got to start there with the finish. I know I always say you can't just look at the race results at the end of the day. In this case, though, it does show it. Start on the line. It says number 1 under finish, 40 under number start, and then car number 1 of Ross Chastain, and leading twice for 8 laps. And it's they always say that of it. You only got to lead one, and that's the last one, which is close to what he did. But William Byron I just think of this season, and I was kind of looking at when I was looking over the points, had the Daytona 500 win, not win since then, but still leads the points against drivers that are winning 3 races, So that tells you they're just that consistent. Now, William Byron, is there. Chase Briscoe is one of those, started on the pole, actually showed 1 lap or led one time for 1 lap, if that was that first lap. Not flashy and not highlighted, but is there. And I don't know that we've seen that yet. And this is one of those, Sharon, you and I were kind of talking about come playoff time. If they're on the upswing now, do they hit their stride come playoffs is going to be the key thing. I know we mentioned, we talked about, I guess it was, we hadn't talked about it yet, some of the top drivers having some issues. What I like to see there then is some of these other names. AJ Allmendinger in 4th. And we know he's a solid driver. Who is this next driver? Brad Keselowski? Does he drive in NASCAR? Man, you can't ask for more. I have been waiting for this all year. Anybody that's a race fan knows, Brad's been having a tough year, and it shows. It started 35th still, but be able to come back. Not quite as advanced, quite as good as Ross Chastain, but a great run. And as of recent, more good things happening. Got to feel the boost of energy within that organization. Chase Elliott, I know, said maybe he felt like he made a mistake and cost the team a shot at the victory. But then again, names you don't see. Michael McDowell in 7th, good run. Ryan Preece, been that type of year, solid, 9th. And I skipped over Christopher Bell. He's one of those that has multiple victories. But then 10th, Noah Gragson. Started 8th, finished 10th. Just hit it down the fairway, stay consistent.
And I thought that was a good run for Shane Van Gisbergen in 14.
You're right. And he started 30th, so again, made up some spots.
On an oval.
You got to like that, and it's on an oval. So there again, we know what he can do on road courses. As he develops and starts getting his feet under him with this next-gen car in the Cup Series. It was a little bit different in the Xfinity. We saw that throughout the year last year. So again, have we seen much? Everybody's saying, oh, it was all hype and no show. Give them time. That it takes time.
It takes time is exactly right. And with those drivers that had a good day, there's always those drivers that didn't have a good day. The drivers that finished all 400 laps, there were 17 of them. So the rest of the other drivers finished a lap or more down, but several drivers had some issues. Let's start with Jimmy Johnson. Jimmy Johnson had an accident taking him out of the race on lap 111. Zane Smith was out on lap 236 due to an accident. Other accidents, Ryan Blaney just broke my heart. He was moving up through the field. I thought he was up to like 15th or between 15th and 10th and had that accident. I thought he was going to contend in that final stage, but he was out on lap 245 along with Kyle Larson out on lap 245, as well as Daniel Suarez. That took out quite a few drivers there on that accident. So very unfortunate for those drivers. Bubba Wallace was out on lap 307 due to an accident, an engine issue. Carson Hocevar, man, I thought he was going to contend for that win, but his engine gave out and took him out of the race on lap 307. I think he was running up in the top three anyway before that engine gave out. Fuel pressure issue took out Josh Bilicki on lap 243 or 343, I'm sorry. And the rest of the cars from 32nd up to 17 cars running on the lead lap. The rest of the cars finished a lap or more down. So some unfortunate situations there for some top drivers, to say the least.
There was, and it had Carson Hocevar been up there and contending, like you said, he certainly looked like he could be. That would have been another one of just amazing. We've seen Spire Motorsports building their organization, getting better week in and week out, but he started 39th. And there are some good storylines throughout the rest of that in between there that maybe didn't get the solid finish. Derek Kraus was in the number 44, started 37th, finished 32nd. For that team, that's the level they're at. So to see him just maintain and again build upon that. Talking about not Spire Motorsports, Rick Ware Racing, Cody Ware, 36 up to 25th. You've got to look at each organization and what that is for them. And obviously, it's not what they want, where they want to be finishing. But when you look at it from where they are at an organization, that's that next step. So I like to see those stories throughout. Like I said, you got to kind of look at maybe 15th to 25th then to see those storylines that go with it.
I will say Kyle Busch did overcome some adversity as well to get that 15th place finish. He went through the infield grass. So.
And there again, it's not quite Brad Keselowski's storyline on the year, but Kyle Busch certainly having his own struggles. And again, RCR as a whole. You know what? Hey, I got an idea, Sharon. Let's talk about Kyle Busch and Hot Topics and a piece of paper. No. But you're right. He's having one of those mediocre seasons, if you will. It's not bad, but it's not great.
Yes, Kyle Busch is definitely on the list for Hot Topics, so we will be talking about him. Okay, do you want to go ahead and cover the points here for this series?
All right, well, and I already mentioned it. William Byron's still your points leader. Actually, it's a swap again. Now, let me take that back. It's a swap because, again, with his second place finish, Kyle Larson started another one we're going to talk about come Hot Topics for sure. Of having a rough finish, Byron now back into the championship points lead by 29 points. The difference, though, playoff points. Kyle Larson has 23 built up. William Byron has 11. Third place, Christopher Bell, 3 wins, same as Larson, but is 74 points back. They are at 50 points in between them, both with 3 wins. But only has 1 stage win and only has the 16 playoff points. Then I mentioned a couple of these drivers, just solid season, not flashy and not getting the wins. Chase Elliott, Tyler Reddick, a couple of zeros there as far as stage wins and playoff points, but they're 4th and 5th. 6 is Denny Hamlin, 2 wins, 2 stages, 12 playoff points. Ryan Blaney doesn't have a win in 7th, but 2 playoff points. Ross Chastain now deep into the conversation, does have the victory and 5 playoff points. Joey Logano right behind him, almost the same stat line, 1 win, 2 stages for 7 playoff points. Then here's where Chase Briscoe comes in. Solid season. You got Alex Bowman in 10th, Chase Briscoe in 11th, Bubba Wallace in 12th. This week wasn't his week, but has 2 stage wins, got a couple of playoff points if he can stay in contention. 13th, 14th, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. and Ryan Preece. Now, Preece, I give kind of a little bit of a nudge towards 1 playoff point. Has been up front and in contention to possibly win, I think, more than Stenhouse, but they're right there on that cut line, and that's not where you want to be. And I'll tell you why. Right now, Austin Cindric's in 15th, 1 win, which locks him in, even if he falls out. 7 playoff points. And Josh Berry at 269 is now on the good side of the cut line, but has a win if he happens to fall below it, as well as 6 playoff points. That puts AJ Allmendinger, if you look at it, 17th to 16th would be 2 points, but that's not where the actual cut line will be, because you got to get up to Ryan Preece at 280, which is 13 points. Kyle Busch right there at 266. Michael McDowell, 259. John Hunter Nemechek, 257. And you get a little bit further down, Carson Hocevar at 248. Todd Gilliland, 246. Chris Buescher and Austin Dillon, 244. It's going to be tight.
Yeah.
It is. And we know there's some of them that either this year have come close, been in contention to winning. I think about, as I mentioned, Ryan Preece, Michael McDowell, Carson Hocevar, at least in contention. But again, then it moves that point line as a driver with a win may get pushed out, but they get to advance back in. You got to go up into, almost up to 12th, 13th, 12th, 11th, and maybe even 10th. If those wins come from below the line, you may think you're good sitting 10th in points, but you're not.
Exactly. There's so many of those drivers that are below that cut line that could come up with a win, and it's going to push that cut line further and further back for some of these guys that are currently above that line. So yeah, it's going to be fun to watch. Now they are at the midpoint of their season, and so the second half of the season begins in Nashville, and the countdown really to the playoffs. So time is starting to run out, and the clock is starting to tick here.
Definitely on that downward slope of the second half of the season. And I mentioned several teams that we've seen seem to be getting into their groove. Brad Keselowski, a champion as well as a race winner, in 32nd in points, but had a victory last year at Darlington, so could get a victory. Whether you like this system or not, if you win a race, you move up. Shane Van Gisbergen in 33rd. If he wins on a road course, that would give him that win, which would put him into the playoffs. I mean,
exactly.
That's why I said 11th, 12th, 13th, you may even have 30, 40-point gap. But if these wins come from down there, that points goes away in a heartbeat.
Exactly. So watch for the intensity to get greater and greater the closer we get to the playoffs, because these guys all want to be in those playoffs, and some for the first time, some for a repeat, but they're going after that championship, and it means everything in the world to all of these drivers. So I expect the intensity to ramp up as we get closer to the playoffs.
Oh, without a doubt. There's some of them that are, right now they're in a position they can take chances, make moves because they know they're in and they have playoff points. So that's what they're trying to build upon. I think a few weeks ago, I think maybe Denny Hamlin is one. That team opted to test some things. Hopefully they learn from that test of don't ever even think about putting that in a car again. You'd have been better off putting bricks and what lead in the vehicle and slowing it down, because they were dragging and going backwards. But they have that option, with 2 or 3 wins and guaranteed, and that can be dangerous as well. That one didn't work, but if they find something that does work and all of a sudden they can get it applied to their cars as we hit the playoff stretch, that can be scary.
It can indeed. All right. Anything more that you want to touch on here in the NASCAR Cup Series, Jay?
No, I just like you excited for this second half of the regular season. We'll get excited about the playoffs when they come. We find out who's in and where we think everybody ranks and all that. Maybe we'll talk about that a little bit of some projections in Hot Topics. But right now, it's about these teams, like I said, that I see either having just solid seasons. Chase Elliott, Tyler Reddick, when do they flip the switch and turn it on? Because we know they can. Ryan Blaney, you mentioned, of been strong all year, just hadn't been getting the finishes. what happens when he starts knocking out the wins? And it can happen in the playoffs. We saw that in his championship run in 2023. But then these teams that you just don't know where they're at, Ryan Preece, AJ Allmendinger, RCR, Kyle Busch, if they all of a sudden start picking up that momentum and climbing that ladder, somebody's got to go down. In order for somebody to go up, somebody goes down.
Somebody's got to go down. So, and it's unfortunate, but it's true. And I think it will be a battle all the way to the end to find out who the final 16 drivers are that are going to move on in the playoffs. And then, once you make it to the playoffs, you want to continue on. So do they have momentum?
Right.
That's kind of going to help them to stay in the playoffs, because this elimination style playoff format increases the intensity for those drivers as they get into the playoffs and battling to stay in the playoffs.
And that's something I know, again, I heard different discussions, and I understand and respect everybody's opinion of going in, say, Kyle Larson, Christopher Bell, once we do the regular season. I'll just use those two as the top examples. Okay. They may be even in a position where they cannot get knocked out in the first round based on what they have on playoff points.
Yes.
So now you're talking about, I just got to try and do better than these 16 or 14, 15 other teams. No, now you're cutting it down to 11, and there again, as other people build up points and everything settles down, there might be those few. Well, now you're specifically having to beat certain drivers, so if they have a good run, even if Larson, Bell, and Byron have bad runs, it doesn't help you enough because you're going to be racing a tight pack. It's not completely wide open. And personally, I like it. Just to get on a little bit of a rant here, but I do like it because I think that you should be rewarded. We go back to the old days, if you will. It was about how you ran the entire season. I understand them changing it, making some more excitement, but they've also gone back with the regular season championship. These stage wins, just like per race. Okay, you ran great all the way up until the end, and the motor blows up, and now you got nothing. They've shown, hey, we'll reward that good run. You just didn't quite get the finish. That's the same for this championship. Do you pretty much need to win in advance? Yeah, or at least be, again, top 5. When it gets down to it, top 5 might not even be enough without a win. But consistency still does show up.
Yes, and you mentioned it earlier too. You might be peaking now, but when it comes closer to the actual playoffs, it's who's actually peaking at the right time that could determine the champion.
And I hate to bring it up, unfortunately, it was William Byron we were talking about of in between videos and from the Truck Series. Again, had one of the most dominant seasons, did everything but win the championship because it was a cutoff race when he lost a motor, and that dropped him out of advancing to the next round. Had he been in the next round, he would have won it, but woulda, coulda, shoulda. It just wasn't the way it worked out.
Exactly. So we'll have fun talking all the way to the season finale. So I have no worries about having a shortage of things to talk about, Jay.
Was that a challenge to the big mouth of the Mid-South? Can you talk for another 13 weeks? Is that what that was?
Well, I think especially with Hot Topics coming up later on tonight, we do have a lot to talk about. That's for sure. And I don't know. It's a competition between you and Chris Crichton, I think.
Imagine that.
Okay. We do have all of our reviews for NASCAR's top 3 series, as well as the 2 ARCA Menard series and ARCA West series races that took place over the weekend. And then we've got our Hot Topic sound off tonight at 10 o'clock Eastern time, where the 3 of us will hash out all of the hot topics from this weekend of racing. And tell us in the comments who you think is going to win the competition here between Jay and Chris over who has the most to say.
Wow. That's a different take on it. I like it.
Okay, so anything more?
No, I'm gonna save it. If it's a battle, I don't want to peak too early before we get to the.
Oh, there you go. The competition is on. But we do want to say thank you, everybody, for tuning in. We do appreciate it. And we hope you enjoyed as much as we enjoyed doing it. So we'll look forward to seeing everybody in our next video. Take care.
Talk to you soon.